Harambe YouTube. This video is going to be different than most of the content that you see on here, but it's a subject matter that I touch on. I like to at least every few months, and I try not to go too long without making one of these videos, even though it can be repetitive, because it is the sole reason I started this channel so long ago and why I started collecting. And that is my mental health journey and how collecting helped me grieve the loss of a loved one and the loss of my mobility. If you follow this channel, you know that I am disabled. I have a lower body injury that hinders my mobility that I got on an old job. I am permanently disabled. I am not going to get better. And that is something that I really struggled with, especially after my 2-year journey of rehabbing and multiple surgeries and having this hope that I get back to work. After all of that, when the doctor told me that I wasn't going to be able to work anymore, I crashed. At first, I denied it, and I figured, oh, I'm tougher than this. I'm bigger than this. I'm better than this. And I went straight from denial into a deep depression that almost, let's just say, had a drastic effect on my life. And the one person that kind of kept my feet to the ground and really propped me up when I needed it the most was my mother. We always had a close relationship, but she became my best friend when I started this disability journey. And in 2017, I found her expired, gone, passed away. And my heart broke, and I had fear, and I had doubts, and I had no idea how I was going to continue, but I decided that I was going to continue because of all the work that she put into me and all the love that she put into me, and that would be how I honored her. And I built mechanisms around myself I did to keep my mental health on top, and I doubled down on my therapy, and I got into hobbies. My first action figure that I bought as an adult was in 2017, and I was going to get something for my Xbox One, and I was in a GameStop, and I passed by this bin of old action figures, and I looked over at my nephew who was with me at the time, and I said, "Oh, look at that old nerd stuff," and I kind of, you know, had a chuckle at it, even though I have always wanted to collect, but I always felt like I feared judgment. And my nephew, knowing the big wrestling fan I was, he dug in there and he's like, "Hey, Charles, look at this Brock Lesnar figure." And I bought the one figure, and I became an addict. And I have countless figures now. And collecting action figures not only gave me something to do with my time, but also gave me something to look forward to. And I would get on YouTube and discover videos about collecting action figures and learn more about them and connect up with the action figure community. I was on Facebook at the time and Instagram, and I could spend hours just scrolling the creative pictures that people took with their action figures and finding out what's new, what's up and coming, and and really kind of seeing something and deciding, okay, I want to get that and I need to get the right price. And the figure hunt became, in a way, something to keep my mind occupied and to give me something to look forward to. And it gave me a community to connect to with a lot of people who I was surprised were a lot like me and in similar situations. And that led me into comic books in a way, because when I would, still have struggles, which I did, I have less now, but I still do. But when I'd have struggles, I would go on action figure hunts. And I would go to my familiar stores and just see if there was something discounted or new. And I was driving past the store that had been empty for a while, and I noticed something familiar, the bright colors of a action figure display wall through the window. So I had to stop even though the store wasn't open. I saw people moving around in there, and that wall was just a wall of Funko Pops. But it was a comic book store, and the people in there were just very welcoming for not even being open. They were just getting things together, having a little lunch break, and they introduced themselves, invited me in, and took me in almost as like an instant friend. And me going to that store here and there when I would get down and being a part of that community, of course, going to a comic book store every other day, you're going to buy comics. And I bought a couple of comics and I discovered, a world of storytelling that I didn't know was out there. And, I realized that comic books were more than one thing. Any genre, any story that can be told has and is being told in the form of comic books. And so the moral of the story is that peace of mind, that joy, that smile, that time spent doing something I love, that community and that mental healing is something that I really wanted to share with anybody, somebody. That if you're going through anything even remotely similar to what I was going through at the time, that maybe this or another hobby like it could be something that you can add to your self-care routine and something that can just get you through to the next moment. And so that is it. This isn't my regular topic, but in a way it is because and I say this with all sincerity. I have 221 subscribers, which I am more than happy with because if there's one person out of those 221 that gets a smile off of something that I put out, then that's my goal. That's my purpose. That's why I have this channel. That's why I talk about comic books, action figures, professional wrestling, because these are the things that still prop me up in my bad times. So that's it. Stay tuned to this channel. Every so often, we're going to have these talks, and I'm always, always going to be bringing you an insight into what I'm reading, what I like in comic books, what I'm watching as far as wrestling, my newest action figures, and share that love with you in hopes of making the hobby accessible if it's something that you're interested in. So that being said, I'll see you next time. Until then, keep reading them books and buy them action figures. I'm out.